Welcome to Confronting Injustice, the podcast where real people share real stories that reveal the harsh reality of a system that too often fails the people it's supposed to protect. I am your host, Linda Solomon. This podcast is just one of the things that we do as a nonprofit organization. We're committed to uplifting, educating, empowering communities with information that they may not otherwise be exposed to. So, through storytelling, workshops, and community events, we educate people about, again, things that you might not hear. We have an especially hard story today.
Right.
I'm joined by Robin Howard, and his story is about her son, Damon Kemp, who at the age of 19 received 2 consecutive life sentences for a crime he did not commit. So, Robin, we thank you for being here, and we recognize that you are a fierce advocate for your son, and you're navigating a nightmare that no mother should ever have to live through. So we thank you for being here. And this isn't just you telling the story, it's you fighting for the truth to come out, and for you fighting for your son to one day walk out of the prison. So can you just tell us about Damon?
Yeah, thank you, Linda. I'm grateful to be on your space. Now, I've been waiting for a long time to be heard. Basically, I try to keep everything to my son, Damon Kemp. He was onto a path that I built for him. And, the day he was born, Dede was a very energetic little boy. He went to the door during this incident. Damon is the type of person, he would give you a shirt off his back. He's never been in trouble. He's never even had a fight in his entire life. He doesn't even raise his voice. He receives a lot of honors in his educated life. And then he just ends up going to college because that's what he wanted to do. I'm not saying that he was the perfect kid, but my son was very well-mannered, respected, and kind, and he was a very non-violent person. To just summarize it just a little, Damon was 19 years old at the time that...
Not to interrupt you, Robin, but it looks like you're reading and your eyes are down. You're not looking... Audience.
Yeah, I'm just a little down because, during this trial, I have a lot of anxieties and stuff, I don't know where, if I'm too old to be out, at this time, but I get a lot of anxiety.
Yeah,
I don't.
Trauma does it. Trauma does that to you. You don't apologize for it. You're going through something that's tragic, horrific, and it's been over a long period of time now. So share only what you want to share and take your time. No apologies necessary.
Has had me really in a nervous wreck about the situation that I told us. And, my son was growing up, I started all kind of activities. My son never really got to experience to be with a lot of kids. He went to E.L. Meta. He went to, when we first moved here in 2005, Damon had an incident, a car accident at the age of 6 years old. He had trauma to the head. He had got hit. He was riding his bike, and as he was riding down the street, and I was watching him, and as he got to the stop sign, the car didn't stop at the stop sign, so it hit Dede, and all I seen was Dede flip up in the air, fell back down. He bounced off the car, and then he fell back on the ground. That's what gave him the trauma to his face. So he had trauma to his whole face. It was fractured jaw, fractured, skull. Everything was fractured. So that happened when he was 6 years old. So during that time, we had just actually moved down here. So he was doing a lot of his homework at home, and I had a lot of support with the school, the teachers, the PTA. I joined the PTA meeting. So he was able to get a Soaring Eagle Award, being that he was there, but he did accomplish all his assignments and still continued to pass during the first game. Then after that, he just went to school. I got him into a lot of activities. He still was energetic. We still had to watch him closely because he still had a blood clot in his head from it, So we just had to watch it. Because he'd get headaches, and we just had to watch it closely because they didn't want to remove it because it probably would have given him brain damage. But being that it wasn't at no risk at that time, they felt, let's just leave it alone.
Okay.
You know, if it happens to grow or move, because sometimes blood clots, they move, you know,
Right.
penetrating on the fluctuation of your brain and your blood flowing through your vessels and stuff like that. So they ended up keeping that in. And during that time, I got him into basketball because he always was into sports. He played basketball in elementary. And during that time, he started dancing in Atlanta, Georgia. David was dancing probably like 6 to till he reached high school. He was dancing with rappers when songs came out. He's in a lot of videos. He went to Dance 411, where he danced for the church. They had their own. We also had a reality show on TLC network. We did a reality show. You can also look Daddy up. They still have clips of him on YouTube. He did a lot of competition dance battles out here. You know, just enjoying his life with music there, because I see that's something that he liked to do. He likes to dance. He started dancing, and he was fumbling playing school activity because, you know, he had to pass school in order to do all these activities.
Right, of course.
We could kind of struggle moving here with 4 kids, but I still wanted to pursue whatever it is, just to keep my kids off the streets, you know. I just wanted them to be involved, you know, during his growing. During that time, he got into middle school. He still was on the same team because he went to he went to EO Middle, Reading Middle, and Reading High. So each of those schools, he still had the same coach, because it's all in the same. He still had the coach all the way up to high school. Art, rest in peace. Let's rest in peace. But he had the same. So he had a good mentor in his life. Coach was always there for us. I was on a team mom. So he played for EO Middle. He went from elementary. Then when he went to Reading Middle, he ended up on the team again, of course, because he had the same trainers, same coaches. Just advancing him. At the same time, he was dancing around Atlanta, doing videos. He also was in plays. He actually did, The Little Munchkins. He was in a Little Munchkin play back in the days at the Fox Theater. You know, I still kept him active. He still went to his doctor's appointment, his neurologist, just keeping. Sometimes he would have headaches. We tried not to exert him because, you know, if you overexert the brain, he would get headaches. You know, now sometimes they just come and go, but if they get too severe, you know, we just settled him down. Then he went on to middle school playing. Then he decided that he was really involved in basketball. He felt basketball would give him a scholarship, would bring him to college. He would make a team, and he wanted to be a basketball player. So during the high school, he went to Reading High, got on a team. He enjoyed AAUs. I had him at ASAs. You know them off tournaments. I also got him into a tournament where it advanced him. He had to play with the big boys at this time. I had to pay for that too when you want to advance them through recreation of sportsmanship. Basketball, they get to challenge men or adult, you know, to just see how, you know, because he's a 3-pointer, you know, he's really short. And that was just his passion. His passion became basketball and music. And at that time, I was working at a concession stand. I was on the PTA. I was involved in everything with these children. As far as the team, I was a team mom. We would go on trips. And then after that, he enrolled into college, you know, kept his grades up. He enrolled into college. He enrolled into Bethune-Cookman. He went all through his 9th grade year. At first he went for business, and then he was so much into music, he wanted to go for engineering, making his own beats at this point, because at this point he started rapping. He was doing talent shows. So he went from dancing to rapping to college, you know. So at that time, you know, he had all the support. You know, you got to realize Daddy was the baby, so he was kind of spoiled between us and his siblings. So he didn't really need to want for anything, nothing, because it's just to pay the phone bill. I'll pay bills. He didn't have a job when he came home. So, I mean, it's not right. You know, he had to get it. He wanted the job. I mean, it was a warehouse job. So he was working. He had a job each time he came home. He was making his own money. Yep. And his dad was helping. Every week, I would pay Daddy money on Cash App, and then his father would give him $150 a week. I pay 1 week. His dad paid 1 week. That's how his money was coming in, you know, so he can have meals. He was tired of the meals. And
so let me just interrupt you for a moment, because what you're doing is setting the stage. This is who this young man was prior to the night that
attending Bethune-Cookman College.
All right.
Oh, his 9th grade went smoothly. Well, he went to Summer Bridge. Summer Bridge was when we went to college. You know, it's free. Get to make him familiar with the college, see how college runs, They go on the dorm, and then mind you, Daddy was in sports, so he was out there with a lot of sports. He was in the dorm with the sports guys.
Okay.
Because the sports. That's how he met Trey. Because Trey, it used to play football, for his school. So it was a lot of sports guys, so they was in that dorm. This is how he met Trey. All the parents come for orientation, where we meet with the counselors, and, just to get the feel of college and away from home. Because he's never been away from home, ever, 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 never, ever. Not over people's houses, spend the night. None of my kids.
So you were that mom that had children come to your house and...
Yeah, and I think I harbored them too much. I didn't really have them in the outside world, but I always told them, things, their actions, right, wrongs, things that can happen, consequences, everything about life itself. That's out there.
But Robin, just for the sake of time, can you tell us what happened the night that you got the call when you were informed that your son was in trouble for the first time in his life?
For the first time in his life? Or during this incident?
Because he'd never been involved in the courts prior to this.
No, he's never been arrested. He's never even got a ticket. He got a ticket. That's as far as I go. Speeding fast from Florida home once. I ain't got a speeding ticket. Yeah. I was actually in the car with him.
Okay.
He hadn't got a speeding ticket. That's the only thing. David's never had a fight in his life. If he had a fight, probably had to play fighting with his friends. Or a lot of the boys on the team are like my sons. He probably had to have a little conversation. One time they caught themselves fighting, then they go in the house. They're kids. David was just a kid. He was still a kid. He wasn't, even though he was 18, 17, or the law produced a David was still, I was still having my child be a child. I still want him to be a child,
So he wasn't involved in gangs, or he wasn't considered a roughneck out there?
He was all his friends been his basketball team from elementary, just then. No really outside of friends like I know them, though. He had his friends from elementary school, basically the basketball team boys.
Okay.
Like the ASA boys, the AAU, just the basketball boys and the people from church. Those are the only affiliated friends.
And so this young man, college student, very actively engaged in many things, but all positive and constructive. He is now accused of murdering his two friends.
Yeah. And ninth grade, he was good. 10th grade, this was all that. I mean, ninth freshman college, he was great. Elementary is great. Sophomore, college student, that's what it.
All right. And so you received a call. Can you just tell us, you received a call that said, what was that call? How did you know that he was in trouble?
Like I said, that we got in trouble. I was putting up my Christmas tree, December 6th. I was putting up the tree, me and my family, and I was with the grandkids and the little cousins, and I was on live, Facebook Live. I'm a very social media person, as everybody knows. I'm very entertained on live and all of that. And so one of the parents, my son's roommate mom, calls me. And she said, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean what I'm doing?" Putting on my tree, happy Christmas, Christmas coming. She was like, "You don't know?" And I'm like, "No, what?" And that's when she said, Damon has been arrested allegedly because she knows Trey, for Trey and Trey's friend Jordan, for murder. Turn on the news or go on with social media. And I'm like, "I could buy you, this is a Saturday." So I Googled Bethune Cookman, Damon. I Googled actually Damon's name, and he pops up looking crazy in the range. You could actually Google Damon of his appearance coming into court. I guess he had arraignment, that he must have talked to the judge prior to that night or something. They do night court on the robbery charge first. But so when I called down there, I called the courts. I was trying to call over, so something just told me to go down there. So I drove down there, me and my oldest son. I just hit the road, drove down there to see what was going on with my son. looked at his picture, didn't feel comfortable. I just, when I read the news, I just, me and my cousin, go rewind and going back, like you asked me. But I just hung up the phone when I seen that. I just screamed. I just, like, something just like a pit of my stomach, like my child just spit it out of my stomach. Like, I just felt like we born again. I don't know what it felt like. I don't know. It just felt like it just left me, And I just broke down. My cousin, I'm banging on the door. What's wrong, Robin? What's wrong, Robin? I couldn't talk. I just was screaming, just screaming for God and praying and get out of time. This is a dream. This is not real. And then I told her, I just stayed in my room. I didn't talk to nobody. She just stayed until came out, and I just was just in tears. And then she was like, you can't be like that. You got to get it together. You got to go down there. You got to see what's going on. And then so we gathered it together. Me and my son, we packed our stuff. We drove down there, got a hotel. As I understand, he was going to court on Sunday. Imagine it was the December 8th. I believe he was going to court because they rested December 7th. Well, they went into the Monday, so December 11th, they had all things, reports with us. He went into court on the 8th, on a Sunday with news and everybody at there. And that's when I seen my son. The victim, Trey's family was there. Me and my son was there. And it was just arraignment. And that's when he was read his charges. And he just looked irate. And he didn't even acknowledge me. He didn't even see me. I didn't even know who that was. 2 cops was on the side, so I couldn't really see him. When I got up, the judge demanded me to sit down. I was trying to get his attention to look at me, at least bring him to realization. Because the way I've seen my son, it just was unbelievable. I can't even describe it. It took me a hard time to look at my son like that. Because if you know my son, there's nothing like my son. I have pictures of everything of my son in here, like, just to love it. See, that's my son, basketball, trophies, awards. And this is when he first in front of Bethune, 9th grade, 9th grade. And this is just, family, and this is when he at the bus. When I took him to Grand Harbor to see him off the sophomore year, that's when he just left. It happened like 2-3 weeks after I dropped him off right again. That's when we was packing his stuff on the door. And that's right in front of Bethune. And then, as you can see, I'm telling the truth, these are his rewards. These are his basketball trophies.
And the background we see, yes. Yeah.
So he was very academical, and he was involved in a lot of things. He used to be called Young Superstar. So if you ever YouTube Young Superstar, you would see the short little boy doing battles and stuff and dancing all around the Atlanta area. Yeah, and if you put up TLC, Dance Kid, ATL, on TLC, you will see him on the network as well. That we was called Teen Moms, Dance Moms.
So listen. Interesting. I cannot even imagine this. And I would imagine we'll have to do a part 2 because we're not going to have enough time to do your entire story. However, so you hear about this from a
phone call, the roommate.
On a Saturday, you pack up and go immediately to be in court the following day. And for listeners who are just logging in, this is the story of Damon Kemp, a 19-year-old who was convicted of double homicide and is now in jail for the rest of his life. And his mother is fighting for his freedom because she knows that her son is not responsible for this. And people have said to you, we know your son is not responsible. However, this happened in Florida, in the South. He's from Boston. Robin's from Boston, moved to Georgia looking for a better life.
Yes. Looking for a better life for me and my kids, getting away from Boston, moving here because there was better opportunities. As you see, there was things they was involved in. And I'm not sure if it was the right decision.
Well, well, listen, Robin.
I can't predict what's going to happen, but I understand, but that's just how I feel.
I understand.
bad. You know, it makes you think.
Understandable.
Really a good thing, but like you said, it didn't happen here.
Right.
It happened in the state of Florida.
And so now you are looking for, what are you looking for right now? You're sharing your story for a very deliberate reason. Why are you sharing this story? What do you need? What is your ask?
I'm looking for justice.
And what does that look like?
Looking for justice. Well, as we all know, my son's been convicted. And I just feel that he was blackballed. I feel that a lot of things was flagged out. I feel his case didn't have a full investigation. I feel a lot of witnesses that should have been witnessed prior up to this incident. I think being last saying things should have been brought up because just 24 hours before the murder of the two boys, there was some social media with some illegal activity as far as scamming with money, and then they're deceased within 24 hours. So I just felt that my son didn't get a fair chance and that his case didn't fully get investigated. And not to iterate on that, I feel that when it came to the evidence, I feel a lot of it was not put into discoveries. I feel that his medical, even as well as his medical records, was not provided to the court, where I was told several times they were submitted. And I asked for many times during the whole process. I just feel the investigation, how quickly it went to social media, how quickly it went to the news, how all information that I had to find out was through social media news. And that's why I came so much addicted to be on the social media, because they kept putting all kind of information out there about my son, but wasn't giving me no information on my son. None.
Let me ask you a question, Robin. Sorry to cut you off. So from what I understand, there was no gunpowder, no ballistics, no blood. Can you just share, because it sounds like that is a major part. How do they convict this young man who's been in jail for like 6 or 7 years now?
About 6 years now.
There was no blood on him. There was no gunpowder. Can you talk a minute about that?
That's why I feel I was unjusted. The way these two boys were murdered with a Glock 45, that was actually obtained through a trade-off from him giving to one guy. It wasn't even Damon's gun. It wasn't even Trey's gun. It was a gun that prior week before that, it was a trade-off. Trey gave him the puppy. The guy traded the gun. Even the cops noticed. I didn't even know that was legal, that you can trade off your own gun, buy the dog, give somebody your gun, and it's a swap, and that's legal. So that's how we end up finding gun. And to know that there was no gunpowder on my son, no blood. And these boys, one was shot 6 times, close range, one to the head, and one was shot close to the head, and one was shot 7 times, 5.
And there was no blood on your
side.
And no blood on your side.
No gunpowder, nothing, not even on the bullets, not even on the magazines. But they claimed there was one gun, 2 magazines. There was a 9mm magazine and a 45 magazine, claiming that the 9mm belonged to Trey magazines, but no gun was found, only a magazine. I don't understand that. That's a missing part to me, because where's Trey's gun? Another thing was the 45, with the 45 in the magazine, which the boys sold to Trey, is actually the gun that shot the 2 boys.
Mm-hmm.
Just within a week, that trade-off gun, which the serial number was crossed off. I thought that was a federal offense. The serial number was crossed off, but they have, I guess nowadays, they have ballistics now that they can look and see what are the real serial numbers. So they end up finding the real serial number. That's how they located where the gun belonged to.
Okay.
And it was bought out of a pawn shop, but it was traced all the way, actually, from Boston, Massachusetts.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, it was traced from Boston. I want to say Providence or Connecticut, or one of those. The gun originally came from the original stereo number, but they had tracked it. But I guess JJ bought it from the pawn shop.
Okay, let me interrupt for a minute. Just because we have about 2 more minutes.
Okay.
How can there's all this information, all of this stuff that was not. There's too many questions. Yet your son received 2 consecutive life sentences, and he's sitting in jail right now.
Yes.
And so you would like for people to investigate this. What kind of help do you need?
I need help. I need some people. I need an investigator, which I never got. I never got any motions. I never got any suppressions. I never got anything. They just went clockwise on my son. You know, it just went, and you know, it was COVID. They let him sit all that time to was actually go trial. Every time something came, it was around trial. They claiming that my son dropped in the pond and wiped everything off. Now, the pond is algae. He didn't have any algae at time of arrest. He didn't have anything on him at time of arrest. And from my understanding, they took tests on him.
And the murder took place the same evening that they arrested him.
They never could determine it because at the time, you got to realize he was charged with the robbery of going into the guy's house. They didn't come to 19 hours later. So this is why they can't determine. I don't know how forensic work. This is why they can't determine time of death because they didn't recover the bodies until 19 hours later.
So you need people in the legal system, or maybe people who just hear this and feel compelled to do something to look at this case. This case needs to redress.
I really would like it to be readdressed, being the fact that, okay, you are investigating a robbery. So if you're investigating a robbery in the same vicinity, you never realized the Department of Trade where they say he was coming from. So you never even took the chance out to get his alibi to where he said he was coming from. So you didn't go there till 19 hours later until you do your investigation.
Well, let me say this, Robin. We only have a few moments left, but you know, there's a saying, evil prevails when good people do nothing. Evil takes place within the criminal legal system as well as without anywhere else. And so for those of you who are listening, we thank you. And Robin, I'll have you on again so you can finish your story, because I think people want to know, should want to know, because this is just not okay.
And it's just not adding up. No, a lot of it's not adding up. A lot of the times not adding up. I just feel that the system has had a bias against my son, and they just will whatever due to his condition, due to his of them finding him in the psychotic way that they found him, and I think they just ran with that and just automatically accused him about that and just built the case on nothing.
Well, listen, our time is up. I would love to. I want to thank you for being here and sharing your story. We'll definitely have you come in. We'd love to interview you again. And for our audience, we just thank you. This is Confronting Injustice, and we look forward to following up with this case.